Chapter 9. The Land of Dreams. The children had had enough of adventures for some time. Their mother set them to work in the garden, and they did their best for her. Nobody suggested going to the enchanted wood at all. I hope old Moonface, Silky, and the saucepan man got back to the tree safely, said Joe one day. Moonface was wondering the same thing about the children. He and Silky talked about it. "We haven't seen the children for ages," he said. "Let's slip down the tree, Silky, and make sure they all got back all right, shall we? After all, it would be dreadful if they hadn't got back to their mother, and their mother was worrying about them." So, one afternoon, just after lunch, Silky and Moonface walked up to the door of the cottage. Beth opened it and shrieked with delight. "Moonface, so you got back safely after all. Come in, come in. Silky dear, Saucepan, you'll have to take off a kettle or two if you want to get in through the door." The children's parents were out for a while. The children and their friends sat and talked about their last adventure. "What land is at the top of the tree now?" asked Rick curiously. "Don't know," said Moonface. "Like to come and see?" "No thanks," said Joe at once. "We're not going up there any more." "Well, come back and have tea with us," said Moonface. "Silky's got some pop biscuits and pop cakes, and I've made some Google buns, and I don't often make them, and I tell you they are a treat." "Google buns?" said Beth in astonishment. "Whatever are they?" "You can come and see," said Moonface, grinning. "They're better than pop cakes, aren't they, Silky?" "Much," said Silky. "Well, Franny and I have finished our job," said Beth. "What about you boys? We've got about half an hour more work left to do, and that's about it," said Joe. "If everyone helps, it will only take 10 minutes. We can leave a note for Mother and Father. I would love to try those Google buns." Everyone went into the garden to dig up the carrots and put them into the piles. It didn't take them more than 10 minutes because they all worked so hard. They put away their tools, washed their hands, left a note for their parents, and then set off to the enchanted wood. The saucepan man sang one of his ridiculous songs on the way. "Two tails for a kitten, two clouds for the sky, two pigeons for Christmas to make our plum pie." Everyone laughed. Joe, Beth, and Franny had heard the saucepan man's silly songs before, but Rick hadn't. "Go on," said Rick. "This is the silliest song I've ever heard." The saucepan man clapped two kettles together, and then he sang, "Two roses for Beth, two scoldings for Joe, two ribbons for Franny, with a ho-diddly-o-ho." "It's an easy song to make up as you go along," said Beth, giggling. "Every line but the last has to begin with the words two. Just think of any nonsense you like, and then simply make it yourself." Singing silly songs, they all reached the faraway tree. Saucepan yelled up it. "Hey, what's his name? Let down the rope. That's a good fellow. It's too hot to walk up today." The rope came down. They all went up one by one, pulled high by the strong arms of Mr. What's-his-name. Franny was unlucky. She got splashed by Dame Washelot's water on the way up. Next time I go up on the rope, I shall take an umbrella with me, she said angrily. Come on, said Moonface. Come and eat a guggle bun, and see what you think of it. So they were all sitting on the broad branch outside Moonface's house, eating pop cakes and guggle buns. The buns were very strange. They each had a very large raisin in the middle, and this was filled with sherbet. So when you got to the raisin and you bit it, sherbet foamed from out and filled in your mouth, with fine bubbles that tasted delicious. The children got a real surprise when they bit their raisins, and Moonface almost fell off the branch with laughing. Come and see some new cushions I've got, he said to the children, when they had eaten as many cakes and buns as they could manage. Joe, Beth and Franny went into Moonface's funny round house. Moonface looked around for Rick, but he wasn't there. Where's Rick? He said. He's gone up the ladder to peep in to see what land is at the top, said Silky. I told him not to, but he's quite a naughty boy, I think. Gosh, no, said Joe, running out of the house. Rick, come back, you silly! Everyone began to shout, Rick! Rick! But no answer came down the ladder. The big white cloud swirled above silently, and nobody can imagine why Rick didn't come back down. I'll go and see what he's doing, said Moonface. So up he went, and he didn't come back either. Then the old saucepan man went to Curiosity up. Step up. He disappeared through the hole, and he didn't come back either. Whatever has happened to them, said Joe, in despair. Look here, girls. Get a rope out of Moonface's house and tie yourself and Silky to me. Then I'll go up the ladder, and if anyone tries to pull me into the land above, they won't be able to, because you three can pull me back, okay? Right, said Beth, and they knotted the rope around her waist and Franny's, and then around Silky's too. Joe tied the other end to himself. Then up the ladder he went, and before the girls knew what had happened, Joe was lifted into the land above, and they were all dragged up too. Their feet scrambled somehow up the ladder through the hole in the cloud. There they all stood in a field of red poppies, with a tall man nearby holding a stick over his shoulders. Is that the lot? He said. Good. Well, there's something to make you sleep. Here's something to make you sleep. He put his hand into a sack and scattered a handful of the finest sand ever to the surprised group. In a moment they were all rubbing their eyes and yawning. This is the land of dreams, said Moonface sleepily. And that's the Sandman. Goodness, how sleepy I am. Don't go to sleep, don't go to sleep, cried Silky, taking Moonface's arm and shaking him. If we do, we'll wake up and find that the land has moved away from the faraway tree. Come back down the hole, Moonface, and don't be silly. I'm so sleepy, said Moonface, and lay down amongst the red poppies. In no time he was snoring loudly, fast asleep. Get him to the hole, cried Silky, but Joe, Rick, and the saucepan man were all yawning and rubbing their eyes, too sleepy to do anything. Then Beth and Franny slid down quietly into the poppies and fell asleep. Two at last. Only Silky was left. Not much of The sleepy sand had gone into her eyes, so she was wider awake than the rest. She stared at everyone in dismay. "Oh dear," she said, "I'll never get you all down the hole by myself. I'll have to get help. I must go and fetch Mr. What's-his-name and the angry pixie and Dame Washalot too." She ran off to the hole, slipped down the ladder through the cloud, and slid down the branch. Below Mr. What's-his-name, she called Dame Washalot, angry pixie. After a minute or two, Joe woke up. He rubbed his eyes and sat up. Not far off he saw something that pleased him. It was an ice cream seller. The man was ringing his bell loudly. "Hey, Moonface, wake up," said Joe. "There's an ice cream man. Have you got any money?" Everyone woke up. Moonface felt in his money bag and then stared in great surprise. It was full of marbles. Now, who put marbles there? He wondered. The ice cream man drove up. "Marbles will do to pay for my ice cream," he said. So Moonface paid him 6 marbles. The man gave them each a bag and drove off, ringing his bell. Moonface opened his bag, expecting to find a delicious ice cream there, but instead he found a big whistle. It was really odd. Everyone else had a whistle too. "How extraordinary," said Rick. "This is the kind of thing that happens in dreams." "Well, after all, this is dreamland," said Beth. "I wonder if these whistles blow." She blew hers, and it was very loud indeed. The others blew theirs too, and at once 6 policemen appeared nearby. Running for all their worth, they rushed to the children. "What's the matter?" they cried. "You are blowing the policeman's whistle. What has happened?" "Do you want help?" No," said Rick with a giggle. "Then you must come to the swimming pool," said the policeman. And to everyone's surprise, they were led away. "Why the swimming pool?" said Franny. "Listen, policeman, we haven't got a swimsuit." "Oh, you naughty storyteller," said the policeman nearest to her. And to Beth's surprise, she found that she had on a blue and white swimsuit, and all the others had swimsuits too. They came to the swimming pool, but there was no water in it at all. "Get in and swim," said the policeman. "There's no water," said Rick. "Don't be silly." And then, very suddenly, all the policemen began to cry, and in no time the swimming pool was full to the rim with tears. "This is the sort of things that makes me feel funny," said Joe. "I don't want to swim in tears. Quick, everyone, push the policeman into the pool." And in half a second all the policemen were kicking feebly in the pool of tears. As the children watched, they changed into blue fish and swam away, flicking their tails. "I feel as if this is a dream," said Rick. "So do I," said Joe. "I wish I could get out of it. Oh, look, there's a plane coming down. Perhaps we could get in it and fly away." The plane, which was a small and green one, landed nearby. There was nobody in it at all. The children ran up to it and got in. Joe pushed the handle marked up. "Off we go," he said, and off they went.